for you, what I noticed, it kind of.
Live,
Oh, live?
Yeah, okay. So hey, it's Courtney Atkinson here from the Dooryard Union. This is a show on Jess FM and Jess TV about entrepreneurs, their journeys, their stories, the good, bad, and the awesome. And today I'm here with Sandra. Sandra owns Kinetic Fitness. And so Sandra, I wanted to invite you in today to talk about your journey as a business owner and to share with us the story of how it is that you came to own such a prolific and vibrant business where people like me have gotten really excited to be a part of your culture and to go on a fitness journey as part of your family. So maybe you can just start by telling us what motivated you and got you started.
Well, if you had asked me about 20 years ago what I could foresee myself doing, it was definitely not owning a gym or a fitness studio. So I'm kind of still getting all used to this. 20 years ago, I thought my journey would be in the optometric industry. So I always wanted to be an optometrist. And, I spent some time in that field, in that industry. I spent actually quite a few years in there. And I started becoming a little bit complacent, just going through the motions, not loving every day and not feeling as passionate as I was when I first started.
You being a bad employee?
Well, I was the manager,
okay.
But
Bad manager.
yeah, I think I was losing my momentum, and
Yeah.
it was time for a change. So, while I was actually managing the practice, I started just getting interested in fitness classes and teaching fitness classes. So it was about 8 years ago when I got certified and just did things part-time. I had a little one at the time and started becoming really more interested in that. And it all started with Kinetic. It all started about 5 years ago when a girlfriend of mine in Calgary invited me to attend a spin class in Calgary.
Was it like an independent facility like yours, or was it one of the big name outfits? Or
One of the bigger named
Yeah.
outfits, yeah. Am I allowed to say what it was?
I think you can.
Okay,
Yeah, why not?
perfect. So it was One Cycle in Calgary.
Oh, sure.
And I didn't know that at the time. And when my girlfriend said, "You got to come and try this spin class," and I thought to myself, really? It can't be that great. I've been
And so
to
you-
spin classes.
So you had been to spin classes, but you weren't super jazzed about spin.
I've taught spin classes. I
Okay.
wasn't jazzed about it, and I didn't understand what the hype was about this spin class that she wanted me to attend.
Yeah.
So I spent a weekend there, and we went to this class at One Cycle, and it was literally a party on a bike. I was so pumped. I was so excited when I left that I immediately thought to myself, we need something like this in Lethbridge,
Yeah.
and I'm bringing it back to Lethbridge.
Just
and
like
so,
that.
And just like that. And that was 5 years ago. So we just started the journey of looking for a location and construction, build, which is always so much fun, as you are well aware of that right now. We could talk about that
We
later.
could.
Yes.
We could put tears in our beers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so 4 years ago, September 2014 was our first day opening, and it's been a blast ever since.
Yeah, it seems like a blast, and you can tell that everybody that's there just loves it, and the culture is so strong for helping one another and supporting one another. And that even starts at like the 5:15 class, or whatever the most ungodly
5:15,
hours.
yeah.
Like I'm the person that doesn't chat with anybody at that time of day, but everybody's really, really stoked to be there. And so I want to just maybe take a step back because, I think for a lot of people, the jumping off point from a career or from like, what they perceive to be their life's journey, and for you maybe that was in another industry as a manager, and there's a shift that happens where I think a lot of entrepreneurs like just abandon ship. If that's the ship of life, you're like, yeah, I'm good, like I don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
So maybe just talk us through some of what was going on emotionally, how that manifested, and at what point you're like, okay, like this is the universe pulling me in this other direction. I'd like to dive a little bit deeper into that if you don't mind sharing some of how that felt and looked, and how you navigated that with either friends or family or made that switch.
Yeah, it started out quite slowly, but I noticed that in the mornings when I was waking up, I just did not feel like going to work, and it was kind of shocking at first because that was my whole life. I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that business, and it's still going strong. But it wasn't my call. It wasn't my passion. I needed to find my passion. I needed to just harness that and take a leap of faith, because there's no guarantee that what I wanted to do was going to work out. And so, when you go to work and you feel that, and this is like a very personal thing, you feel that heaviness in your chest, you feel that anxiety, it's just not worth it. Right? And so, I wanted to, just do something that was more in tune with what I thought I was meant to do. And in hindsight, it was, like I said, a leap of faith. But family support has been spectacular, has been amazing. Friend support, I couldn't do, and still to this day cannot function every day without the support of my family and my friends. So
tell me about that. So when you had a different life continuum, and you were living that life, you had friends who presumably were either in that business or who were living kind of similar lives. Did you find that when you made that transition, when you realized that you needed to pursue something you were more passionate about, that you had those changes in the people in your sphere as well? Like, did you find yourself having less in common with some people and then gravitating more towards people that were either in your industry or who were entrepreneurs? How did you manage that? Or was there a change like that at all?
There wasn't much of a change. My circle of friends and my family, we all have the same interests. And actually, it's quite interesting that the backbone is in health and wellness, physical activity, whether it's optometry, whether it's cycling, whether it's something indoor and outdoor. There was that common thread with all of us. And so there wasn't much of a dissociation once I decided to make that change. So
one of the other things that I'm really impressed by about your business is that it's not the kind of thing like real estate that you can slowly but surely kind of gradually scale into. It's like, okay, I'm going to go open a cycle studio. I'm either going to lease or rent a space. Lease or buy a space. I'm going to buy tens of thousands of dollars, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. I'm going to build essentially like a concert hall in a room. And so like, that's really scary. So like, maybe talk to us about that, because now you've, like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, so you've made the commitment, like, and then you saw this place and you're like, man, I want to bring this to Lethbridge. It's going to be such a cool thing for my community. And then you're like, wham, I got to like drop all this dough. And then you're kind of all in, because, it's a lot of money and you can't just back away halfway through if you get scared. So tell me about that. I'm interested to hear that story.
Absolutely. Okay, so it started out as let's just lease a space. 1,700 square feet. I just want something small and intimate.
And how much do you have?
We have 4,000 square feet.
Right.
So it was a bit of a change. So let's just lease something small. We won't put too much money into it. All we need is some bikes, some lights, some music. It's all good.
Right.
And things kind of fell through with the lease, which I think ended up to be the best thing that actually happened. And so we started looking for a space and location. So that was a huge thing. I live in the South End. I know where I wanted to be, and it was more central, and so we found this location here on 2nd Avenue South, but it's big. There's also 2,000 more square feet in the back that's not developed yet.
Oh, really?
We'll talk about that later too.
Okay.
Yeah. So we looked at the space. It's large. It's not cheap, and it's going to need to be gutted and renovated. And so
it looks awesome, by the way.
Oh, thank you. So there's a lot of cost involved. There's a lot of investment. There was a lot of pulling out RSPs, cashing out on savings, taking out mortgages, and borrowing from family. So lots and lots of sleepless nights still to this day, where you worry about whether you're going to make it and whether it's going to be successful on a monthly basis. Can we pay our bills? So
I think those are the things that a lot of people don't talk about openly. At least in, people look at you and they're like, oh, Sandra's crushing, like every day's a great day in her world. Look at her, like she's always so positive and happy, and then you're like, if you're like me, you're like waking up at 3 a.m. in tears or whatever, you have a bad day or a bad month or even a bad year, and there's something that's pulling you back to work, something that's motivating you, and something that's driving you to crush that entrepreneurial spirit that I think is difficult to navigate, but draws ultimately us all back in. And it's important to have family and friends and that sphere of people to support you during that time and give you like a safe place just to be during those vulnerable times. Because you're right. I mean, we've all gone all in, right?
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I think people think, well, they must have been just loaded. You know, they must have been sitting on millions.
I love hearing that.
I
yeah.
know, hey, and then it's like, oh, well, you just like took all this money that you had sitting in a pile over here, and we're like, oh, I'm going to go do this thing. It's like,
yeah.
well, no, actually, like, I sold my shoes, and like,
pretty much,
you
yeah,
know, right, like,
pretty much.
I did everything conceivably possible, borrowed money from family and friends and everybody, and then did this thing, and now everybody believes in me, and then that creates
pressure. Oh,
right?
Huge pressure. You know, the good thing is though, as you spend more time in the profession, in your industry, and you spend more time in your business, your support system becomes a lot bigger. So now, instead of just your outside friends and your family, you have this community that you've built your business around. So I call it my second family, my kinetic family, and it is literally been a huge support. You know, without that, I think it would be much harder every day. So
yeah, I'm sure. And one of the things that I've often thought about you is you're like the number one racer in class. Not that we're like necessarily racing.
Not that we're looking at numbers,
but
right?
but for a person that like shows up every day, I don't know how many classes you might teach a day. How do you manage that? Because, you know, many people like myself were there, you know, in part for physical fitness, in part for mental health, and, you know, trying to, you know, achieve some sort of balance in that part of our lives. How do you navigate that? Because you're in the industry, and there's like expectations, I presume, around your health and your level of fitness. But then there's also like, it's, you know, got to be lots of injuries or risk of injuries, and like the mental, emotional, physical fatigue of being so active so many days in a row. How do you manage that? It seems to me to be a really big thing, but I don't know what that's like for you.
It is a very it's a very fine line between physical and emotional. But I'm still to this day learning how much I can actually handle, and without without compromising the just what I want to put out there. So when I first started, I thought the best way to save money is to teach more of the classes myself. I was teaching almost 22 to 25 classes a week.
A week?
A week. So that didn't last very long. That lasted one session when I realized that it was taking too much of a toll physically. And as a result, the business end was starting to go on the backside, on the back burner. So I'm still finding what's a good balance between how many classes I want to teach, that I physically can teach without compromising my own health, my own sanity, and the business aspect of Kinetic as well. So
you've got these forward-facing responsibilities that everybody kind of knows you for, right? You know, being at class and being the kind of face of an awesome business, but then there's these other things that have to get looked after in the back end, like a leaky roof, like we talked about.
Oh dear, yes.
Or you know, fixing things. I mean, maintenance that I'm sure goes on after hours that maybe you're doing that nobody else sees. Like, there's all these other components to that business, and I think that's something else that gets missed when people have successful businesses, is that, you know, hey, we get to see like the pretty awesome good stuff, like the promotions, the, you know, the culture around the physical act of doing the thing, in my case real estate, in your case spin classes or other activity classes. But then there's all this like other stuff that might only be half, it might be less than half compared to what's required to run the business. So maybe walk us through what some of those responsibilities look like for you, and how you've navigated that, you know, business part of the journey that's not just being in front of a class, but being behind the scenes and orchestrating all that, from hiring to payroll to all that. Maybe talk us a bit through that.
Yeah, you know, I always kind of go back to my support system. So let's start at the building. Unfortunately, when you own your own building and there's issues, there's no one that you can actually rely upon. You can't call a landlord. So there's always the structural things to worry about and to maintain. So like for example, our leaky roof that just happened in January, and that does put a lot of stress and a lot of strain, on your business. But you know, you can rely. I've had to rely on, you know, family and insurance and contractors, all that stuff. So there's that component with respect to, you know, like the HR, the hiring and the firing and the payroll. I try to do as much myself. When I was managing at my other job, I did all that myself. And then I finally, after about 10 years, I said I can't keep up with the books. So we hired an accountant, and I kept that same girl, so she helps
Oh, no
me.
kidding.
So the accounting is off my plate,
Wow.
and which is nice.
It's a lot of hard work.
It's a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and then there's, things like purchasing and maintaining the actual business itself. I have to really, really give my my staff props for that. My staff is what keeps Kinetic running and what keeps it clean and what keeps it just.
How many people are there at your team?
I have about 8 who work at the front desk.
Yeah.
And for instructors, because we just have some instructors that have more classes than others, we juggle around, 20 instructors or so.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's about a team of 30.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of schedules to keep track of, and so you're managing that, evenings and weekends when other people are out doing fun stuff, and then you're in front of the classes at 5:50 in the morning.
Yeah.
And so, what's your bliss? When do you get away? When do you shut her down? And what's that look like for you?
At first I had a hard time shutting down. I still do. I walked in with my laptop in case there were a couple of minutes before I had to, but, and ask anybody, even when I get my hair done, I always have my laptop with me. But, I try to, once I get home, shut down a little bit to spend time with my family.
Yeah.
It's hard. I have found that they've become a little bit more used to me working when it should be off hours, and I'm sure you have the same, but the thing is, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly can tell you that it just doesn't feel like work sometimes. And some of the stuff that people might consider work is fun for me. Social media, advertising, promotion, and the other things that I do outside of Kinetic that keep me on my laptop or on my phone, or it's just, I love it. And
What are some of those things?
okay. So I love to, kind of give back to the community. And so about 3 years ago, my friend and I started up 100 Women Who Care, Lethbridge.
Oh, you did that.
That was me,
Hey,
yeah,
you did say that. I
and
know that.
Sharon Carruthers, so from Health First.
Cool.
Yeah, so that keeps us busy on our off times, and we host events every 3 months, so 4 times a year, and we've raised over $100,000 for nonprofit organizations in Lethbridge. So yeah, so that's
So we'll just throw a pitch in for 100 Women Who Care. So
Yeah.
the principle is that you get 100 women.
Yep.
And so talk
or
us through
more.
that. Or
Okay,
more.
yes. So 100 Women Who Care Lethbridge is, I think, just a phenomenal idea, and it's not a local thing. It's actually nationwide.
Okay.
There are hundreds of chapters around the world, and so Sharon thought, maybe Lethbridge could use something like this. So she approached me. And said, "I would love to partner with you," and I said yes. So every 3 months we meet for only 1 hour.
Wow.
So how it works, and this is the best thing, there's very minimal labor involved to raise a lot of money. So we just started a Facebook page, and what you do is about 3 or 4 weeks before the event, we open up nominations for nonprofit organizations. So if you're a member, which costs nothing to become a member of 100 Women Who Care, you can just submit a nomination for a nonprofit organization. We take all the nominees for that one event, and we randomly choose 3.
Oh.
We invite representatives from those 3 organizations to give a 5-minute talk. They only have 5 minutes to tell us why they deserve, or why we should give them our money. Each member who comes to the meeting, which is called 100, but we would love to have way more than 100 women, honors a $100 donation. So once the 3 organizations come and give their speech, we vote, and the majority wins and takes all the money home.
Wow.
Right then and there. There's no overhead. We don't take a portion of anything. Every dollar that's donated goes right back to the organization. Yeah. So at first, when Sharon and I were new at this, we were, just paying for all the little things, the venue, the refreshments, and then people started saying, "I want to sponsor that."
Right.
And so Lethbridge, as you all know, is such a generous community. We have people pretty much asking us, can we sponsor the venue? Can we sponsor the refreshments?
Mm-hmm.
I call out for door prizes, and I literally have 20, 25 door prizes by the end.
That's
So,
amazing.
so can I plug?
Yeah, please
So
do.
our next event is Tuesday, September the 11th. We meet at the Southminster United Church Hall at 6:45 is registration. You can 6:45 p.m. So you can register either online by visiting our Facebook page, or you can register on site. I have amazing volunteers that can do registration like this right on site. So
The cool thing about that, I mean, there's many cool things about it, but you know how when somebody asks you, like, hey, would you sit on this committee or would you do this thing, you think, oh, it's in my heart to do this, but like,
the
where
hours
am I going to find the
involved,
time,
right? Yeah.
And so to be able to show up to an event, bring your $100, it's like you're accomplishing many things. One, you're going to have an impact. Two, you're not going to be overly committed on time. And three, it's like massive compared to what you might do if you committed more time in a different way, right?
Huge. We've I think our biggest was $12,700 in 1 hour.
Yeah.
And it's become quite a little social event. So the women come a little bit earlier, they stay a little bit later.
Yeah.
There's great networking opportunities as well
Sure.
if you own businesses, and great opportunities for advertising your business.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's interesting to me, one of the most common themes that I've experienced with other entrepreneurs is like, you know, the way that you just lit up talking about that, right? I mean, we can sometimes feel like, you know, down on our businesses, or like
Yeah.
we're stuck in the grind sometimes. We love it, but, you know, there's those hard days. And then this stuff can be the thing that just gets you jazzed, and then you speak to somebody else and you're totally uplifted in it. And so it's cool that you're doing that. I
Yeah,
think we all need,
thank you.
We all need
Yep.
that stuff that's like just totally different and outside of where we're at.
Yeah.
So talk us through like where your peace and quiet is, and how you look after your self-care, and what that looks like for somebody who's like so fit, so active, who's in the industry. Like, are you huge into meditation, or like where do you just shut it off, or do you?
I wish I actually took a little bit more time to self-care.
Yeah.
That's one of, I really need to work on that. I wake up really early, I go to bed too late. I don't have,
Yeah.
and please do not do this, okay? So I don't get enough sleep. So that's
Okay.
the first thing.
So how much sleep? Are you like a Donald Trump, where you're like 4 hours a night? or-
4 to 6.
Really?
6 is an amazing night of
Wow.
sleep. So yeah, and I wish I could meditate. I wish I could do yoga, but can you tell? Like, it's just not, right? So and you'll probably laugh at this, but the way I actually like to kind of get away from everything is running.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
this about you.
So I don't do it a lot anymore. I used to
Yeah.
love to run, but when
Just
you're on,
pound those joints, right?
it's the air, it's being outside, yeah, and the impact on the knees, it's perfect. So, but when you're indoors and you're on the spin bike, you know, like 10, 15 hours a week,
Yeah.
the last thing you want to do is work out indoors, right?
Yeah.
So I just love to just lace up and head out for just a nice little run. So
good.
I love to do that, and yeah, just spend time with my friends and my family.
Yeah.
Just spend as much time outdoors as I can. So
It's interesting to me, you were talking about you know, how much time is required to run a business like that, and how, you know, families starts to more easily understand how that can look. And I've certainly experienced that. I mean, when I was remarried, my wife Melanie, you know, eventually said to me very politely, like, you know, it would be nice if you could just like let me know if you weren't going to make it for supper.
yeah.
You know, and it seems like in you know, when you're working for yourself, you can get so caught up in like keeping the wheels on the bus and looking after your clients and your business that you can literally lose track of the people closest to you, and
Yes.
forget to have like those little courtesies, like, hey, I'm going to be late for supper, or I can't come at all for some reason. To the point where we even, you know, just kind of laid down the law, you know, these are the hours where there's no phone in the house, and, you know, and then business after that or whatever. So have you had to create any lines in the sand like that as a family, where you've like structured time so that you know not to do those things, or are you just very fluid with it and it works really well for you and your family?
Yeah, it's just, we're going with the flow right now.
Yeah.
It works really well. I do carve out the time in the day to take my son to school every single day and pick him
Cool.
up every single day.
Which is
and
surprisingly hard, and I understand it changes
I know.
too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, like my kids aren't school age, but from the people in my team, it's like, it doesn't seem very consistent somehow.
No, it's very close to home. It's close to kinetic, but it's that, okay, shut everything off. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And you know, people have said to me, why don't you just put him on the bus? And I say to them, it is pretty much one of the few times that we just have one-on-one in the car.
Mm.
And even if it's only 10, 15 minutes, whether we don't say anything or we do chat about the day, it's one of the few, unfortunately right now in my life, it's one of the few times that I do get that one-on-one with him. So
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've seen many different families operate many different ways, and I don't know if folks that like spend all the time together maybe don't maximize those opportunities because they kind of take it for granted. And I feel kind of the same way. I mean, I have like probably like an hour one-on-one with my kids a day, probably two actually, and I feel like we make good use of that time. Sure, there's many other times that I'm with them that I'm distracted or I'm on my phone or I'm on my laptop, but they seem to be adjusting. And as a family, I think if you have someone who you're in a partnership with who just gets that, it can be a lot easier. And it's not hard to kind of build that understanding. I think the more that you bring them into the business, frankly, like Mel knows, well, she and I work together, so it's really easy for her to see what the struggles are and what the daily grind is like, and to be able to have someone support you in carving spaces is really helpful, and it sounds like you've got that too.
yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So tell me about what your long-term vision is for Kinetic. So, are you doing exactly what you want to be doing and you want to just keep on doing this exactly this way, or do you have an idea for this 2,000 square feet that's in the back?
Yeah.
Are you looking to like leverage out of this business and sell to one of the big outfits and then manage?
Never.
Okay.
So I think it's a proud thing to say that we, are a pioneer of this type of spin studio in Lethbridge.
Yeah.
And, even little things like online booking of classes, class passes, these are all really new things to
Because
Lethbridge.
of you, I started like going to spin classes on my holidays, and it's cool to go
I
to
love
like,
it.
yeah, well, it's cool to go to a place like in New York and you're like, dang, like they don't have this as locked down as Sandra does.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, it's true though. I mean, I'm sure you've experienced that, right?
Yeah, you know what, and it's quite interesting. I call it research.
Yeah.
So when I do go away, I try to hit a spin studio and just to see how they perform their day-to-day operations, even little things that I've actually taken back from those visits. And what I do like is how you just said that is I love when people either Facebook or text me after they've been to a spin studio and say, Sand, I just went, yeah, they're like, thank you so much for, for Kinetic. We love your facility. And, so that makes me really, really proud that, the hard work that we put into it is actually showing. The plan for the 2,000 square foot space is a secret.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So we're not
forget
gonna,
I asked.
I know, just like edit that out because you're not going to find out.
So when like, is there a time? Can you give us a time when we should pay closer attention?
It's my hopes is for the new year.
Okay.
But again, we want to be a pioneer, and yeah, we're hoping
Don't
that.
say anything more.
I'm not going to say anything more.
Maintain your competitive advantage.
Yeah, for sure.
It's funny, the more you talk about these things, the more people ask you about these things, and then the more they want to know deadlines, like I just asked you, and I'm getting that a lot with my building too. I'm like,
I know.
Why talk about
You're
it?
like, stop.
I know. It feels
Right?
like, it feels like never. It's just writing endless checks, and then maybe one day there's a building at the end. Yeah.
Yours looks like it's going to be amazing.
I think it'll be good. Yeah, I mean, we've got a really cool plan there, and we're excited about it. But as you say, it's stressful.
Yeah.
You got to get through all that. Right?
Yeah, but it's fun.
So you've got a plan for the back space in the back, and you've maximized the rest of the space. So tell me how many bikes you have in your studio, and then tell me what the classes that you're offering in both, and the type of people that find their home at Kinetic.
Oh yes, my family. I love it. So we currently have 32 bikes in the spin room. So that's a great space. 32 people in a class. We still have waitlisted classes at certain peak times with 32 bikes. I could probably fit a few more, but that might just have to be put on hold until the other space is completed. So we do offer, obviously, spin classes and just various spin classes. So enduro ride is, something more endurance-based, steady state, versus our pedal parties, which are high intensity, high energy. We have 30-minute classes that will help you squeeze in a workout at lunch. So at 12:15, we like to cater to the business people who want to come in for a quick workout and head back to work.
I suppose those people don't have that afternoon slump at about 1 or 2 o'clock.
No
do they?
way.
Where
No.
I'm like, where's my coffee or something? Those people
I
just
know.
glide through the afternoons, I bet.
It's quite funny because I was having a conversation with someone about one of our yoga classes that we hold on Thursdays at 12:15.
And that's not a class that you run, right?
No, of course not. No, I wish one day. It was actually at a staff meeting, and the staff said, "Yeah, you know what I notice about the people that come to yoga on Thursdays is they're kind of, you know, like you said, they're in a slump when they come in and they walk out and they're just re-energized, just ready to go for the rest of the day." And so I think a lot of our classes will do that, especially with the spin and the higher intensity classes. So that's in our one room. We offer classes, like you said, from 5:15 in the morning as late as 8 p.m. at night.
Yep.
Our other class, which is, we call it the dance studio. We have bar, TRX, boot camp style classes, lift classes, Tabata classes. We have yoga in there, strength and stretch classes. So between the two, we offer about 60 to 65 classes a week.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
lots.
Yeah.
So I just want to take a step back and talk more about your spin class room, because it unto itself is something that I think deserves a little bit more description.
Yeah.
So there's lasers, which for me like is a really exciting thing. I don't think you have a fog machine, because that would be inappropriate. In a
No,
spin
no
studio.
fog
But if
machine,
there was
no.
a fog machine, it would make sense, because
We-
it does seem like
We could try.
it seems like an MTV dance party in a spin studio where you're motivated to work hard because you feel really good, and you're like, it's like being at a dance club. So I'm like in
Pretty
my
much.
40s now. If I was like to roll back time when I was in my 20s on top of a speaker, you know, it'd be kind of like that. But I'm now doing it for my health, not for a hangover.
So we're not going to find you on the sub dancing in
Not
class?
to say that you won't.
Okay, maybe one
probably
day.
not going to happen at Soundgarden.
Yeah.
I would maybe reserve that for like Vegas or Great Falls. At
All
least,
right, fair enough. Yeah.
And really, really incredible sound system. I can't imagine what you must have spent to have that quality of sound. I mean, it's like concert quality, really.
It is Polk Audio. So we did want to go into a very high quality sound system, and it makes me smile when I turn the music on and it sounds amazing. So
Yeah.
so we did spend quite a bit on that, but you know how it is. You do it once, you do it right,
That's right.
and that's it.
Well, I think all these little pieces in a business, they together they create a culture, don't they? You know, so you've got this really well-oiled machine, from super friendly front-end staff to to smiling faces and a bright open environment. Like all those pieces kind of communicate the same message to your clientele, I think, and that's compounded by the quality of the studio, the quality of the bikes, the quality of the leaders. And the other thing that I was inspired to talk to you a bit about was how you've created a culture of inclusion. Like, I've been going to gym since I was young, and I remember like being maybe 14 and being like really scared going
Yeah.
to a gym after work, right? And I know that that's a very intimidating thing for many people, regardless of stage of life or fitness. You're walking into a new environment and you just automatically assume that everybody there has been doing this their entire lives, and you're like the last person to the party.
Yeah.
And you have no idea. Meanwhile, like, this other person beside you came yesterday for the first time, and you just think that they've been there forever. And so somehow magically you've created this environment where there's really no attitude, and where your classes are really inclusive and welcoming, where strangers are saying hi to strangers at 5:15 in the morning,
Yep.
presumably at 8 o'clock at night too. And the same in your other studio too. I mean, it just seems like everybody's so dang happy and welcoming, and not like full of attitude and I don't know, fear mongering. So how have you cultivated that?
From the very beginning, it was something that I was really trying to focus on, is that that word inclusion. So I'm proud to say that we have accomplished that, but it starts from the top down. So I've always I've always felt like you too, been to quite a few gyms. In fact, when I first moved here, I went to one of the bigger gyms, and I walked down the hallway, and the two people at the front desk just kind of did that, look up and down, and I thought, well, that doesn't feel really, really good. So I kept that in the back of my head, and I said, when people walk into Kinetic, they're going to be welcomed with a smile. They're going to be welcomed with somebody that looks like they enjoy their job, and that they love what they're doing, and that they love being here. And I think once you have that at the front desk, it just creates that ripple effect.
Yeah.
And so but I'm always, you know, one of the things you'll never hear us talking about is the perfect body or weight loss competitions. It's not about that. It's about doing something that makes you feel good, doing something that gives you energy for the rest of the day, doing something that helps you create friendships and a family and a community, and doing it all at Kinetic. And you know, that's, and it, like I said, it does make me very proud to know that we succeeded in that, and that's just the way I live. It took me a long time to get there, a lot of years to understand that it's not about, you know, the diameter of your waist or the number on the scale. It's about how you feel when you wake up in the morning and how you feel, you know, when you go to bed at night. So
and how you can bring energy to other relationships that you have in the meantime. So I'm curious about how that culture gets communicated or gets perpetuated in your space. And so now I'm going to dive a little bit deep on just process and how you've maybe managed your team a little bit. So one of the things that I'm really good at as a business owner and as a leader is, like, you know, like spitballing and then idea casting and vision casting, getting buy-in, but I find execution hard. And so, for example, like the last thing that I would do is create, you know, an operations and procedures manual so that I could, like, you know, give to each new person and say, hey, this is the way we do things. I'm a little bit more of an artist than that, you know, just a little bit more random. And so you seem to me to be like a really, like, disciplined, like, you know, execution style personality. So have you done those types of things at your business, or are you more organic about that approach?
I'm more organic. I wish I could say that I actually have a procedures and policy manual, but I don't. And so everything is, for me, I like to do things verbally, meet people one-on-one, and even, I know it's not as personal, but something as simple as a text or a Facebook message. We do have a group. So I have group pages for my instructors and my staff through which we communicate quite a bit. But I also like to just hang around and be there and
create that culture just organically.
So and I think that might be frustrating sometimes because it's not black and white all the time. It's gray, but it's a way to adapt and learn all together as well. So.
In some ways, I'm surprised at, like, the number of people that want to join me on my business journey, and I feel like so privileged that we have great people. And then I look at these types of situations where it seems like so much of what we're doing is organic and, like, just conversation based, and, you know, we're vision casting and talking about, you know, how we deal with situations like this. And, like, if I look at myself 15 or 20 years ago, I wouldn't want to work for a person or a business like that. It would be too random. Like, I needed more structure, and, like,
it would stress you out.
I need that procedures manual to be able to buy in. And so knowing that that's the way that I would have been, I'm always so privileged when people are like, yeah, like, I totally get that and I can do this, and then they do it but better than I could.
That's awesome.
And then you walk, you know, somewhere else in town. I'm sure you've had it happen where somebody comes up and gives you a high five and says, man, like, you know, this person, you know, at your business treated me with such care. I just want you to know they're so awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't happen enough, right? People should say that more because it's true. And plenty of people at your place have made, like, you know, many of my days awesome. Just like, really.
Love hearing that.
Yeah.
We recently put out a little comment box,
Ooh.
right? So that's a tricky.
That's brave.
Right? And so.
Tell me this, like, just insider track, and maybe hopefully nobody's watching this is going to leave feedback, but, like, do you empty the box out before every class and just watch for the one person?
No, I don't even want to know who put it in there. So it's completely anonymous. They're welcome to put their name if they want to. So, and that took a couple years to actually get the courage to do, was to put up to put a simple comment box, because it's so much easier when you don't know what you're doing wrong. Right? And so we put it out there, and, you know, we've got, I honestly would say 99% of the evaluation forms and the comments that come back are positive. And even when they're not, they're constructive. And so it has really helped to shape the changes that we're making in Kinetic, from something as small as, you know, towels or a time slot in a class to sitting down an instructor and maybe going through what some of their weaknesses are. So Yeah,
well, I think that's the thing that separates good businesses from businesses that might struggle, is your openness and willingness to address those things. We've had mess ups, I'm sure, today that that we know about, and maybe they're not big, but they're things that are on our minds as business owners that we're trying to address. Slowly but surely. I wanted to go back and also just chat a little bit more about some of the in-house tools that you're using for managing ideas and communication. I know a lot of organizations use Slack. We've tried it, didn't love it. We're using Trello now. You're using just Facebook groups. So talk to me a bit about that and the type of communication and how you're using those tools to keep your team engaged, informed, and kind of moving your vision forward.
Yeah, so like I said, it is a lot of one-on-one, a lot of personal interaction. I've tried platforms through which to communicate other than Facebook, and with no success. People don't like change, unfortunately, and the more avenues they have to communicate with you, the more confusing it gets. So we've simplified it to just the Facebook pages and texting and personal interaction, which seems to work the best. And we do have instructor forums, and I have monthly staff meetings. I would like to have them more than once a month, but it's already hard enough to get everybody together once a month.
It is. We get a lot of people too.
Yeah.
So what are the requirements for people in your industry to stay upgraded, informed, on top of all the new research and technology around the business, the sport? How much of your time is spent just gathering knowledge, staying at the forefront, continuing to be a leader? What's that look like for you?
For myself, for the instructor end, we are required to keep up with our education. So we do have a minimum number of continuing education courses that we have to take, as well as always keeping up your CPR and all that good stuff. And as for business, it's more self-motivated, more self-directed. I would love to be able to, go off to these huge business conferences, but that just never happens. So it's a lot of reading articles and books and, joining Facebook pages. Again, I know I keep mentioning that, but where other people, other like-minded individuals can just bounce ideas. I've learned so much from some of the groups that I'm in on Facebook, and just chatting with people. A lot of my members are business owners as well, and so when we're sitting down on the bench, either before or after classes, there's a lot of knowledge, a lot of learning right then and there too. So
yeah, it's interesting the number of people that are willing to share information with business owners, and that are just such a free group of people. In fact, I had a person call me yesterday, a referral from a guy that I kind of hardly know. Met him once, and this person's in multifamily investing in Jacksonville, Florida, and we had this awesome hour and a half long brainstorming session, just random strangers. And
Love it.
It's just really cool that we're in a world now where even if you can't find the time to go to a conference, or you don't live in a big city that's filled with this huge network of people doing similar things, that with relative ease you can get somebody on the phone.
Oh yes, definitely.
Who's super supportive and willing to help you and answer really specific questions about the problem that you have to solve today. And so I really agree with you a lot there. I've got a pretty good network of people, and if I have one specific question that I need an answer to, before you maybe have to read books. Not to say there's anything wrong with books.
What's a book? Yeah.
Audio books, right?
Yeah.
Or you'd have to go to a conference, or you'd have to really, really try hard. And now it's a matter of Googling or watching a YouTube video or accessing a network and finding out who the people are with the answers, and just reaching out. Hey?
Oh, reaching out, and I have to say the whole fitness community here in Lethbridge is absolutely amazing, because people will always say, well, there's so many gyms in town, and so much competition, and I always say there's no competition. First of all, we are in walking distance of so many other facilities, but we all have our own little area, our own little niche market. There's plenty of people in Lethbridge to kind of fill these gyms, these studios, and I've often, when I do have a question, I actually reach out to some of the gym owners here in town, and so I'll just message them or give them a call and say, I've reached out to Russ at CrossFit, Jared at FitBody, CJ at Anytime Fitness, just to pick their brains on stuff, even if it's as simple as, hey, this girl is applying at Kinetic and she said she worked for you, and then we get the lowdown from them, right? Or how much are you guys charging for this? And it's so, I love that. It doesn't feel like such a competitive force between us, and that we're actually working together to provide, these services. And
that's incredible to me. It tells me that you come from an abundant mindset. You don't approach your work or your job or your business or your personal life from that, sense of scarcity. And so, first of all, I want to commend you for that, because that's really hard to maintain in business. But it's something that if I could go back to like the 10 year ago me, who was like struggling to to make something out of the real estate business, that I would have been a better colleague. It's interesting how much further it can get you in a business where you perceive competition and maybe create kind of like false anxiety or competition in a place where there really would be support and better culture if you could just allow that to happen organically.
Definitely.
So tell me about that. Was that just always the way that you were, or did how did you come to be that way in a competitive space like that?
Even when I was managing our other business, optical studio, whenever we just for example, if we felt it was time to increase our fees, one of the best ways was to just call around and ask the other places what they were charging, because I don't see why it's necessary to undercut anyone or be the most expensive either. So if we could all be kind of level playing field, it's that much easier. So I kind of took that from my years and years there, and brought that with me to Kinetic. And I just, like I said, I feel each of the facilities here has something different to offer to the residents in Lethbridge. And if we, for example, with FitBody a couple years ago, we did a burpee competition where we raised food for the food bank. And
the worst exercise ever.
Oh my gosh, I'm still post-traumatic stress disorder from that.
How many burpees could you do? I'm guessing it's like 1,000.
I don't even know. Yeah. So we had a lot of burpees to do. We raised a lot of food for the food bank, and we brought 3 gyms together to do that. So why not work together instead of working against each other, right?
Yeah, and that competitive spirit can go a long way without getting in the way.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. So if you were to talk to the Sandra that had started this business 8 years ago? No.
4 years ago.
4 years ago, sorry. What would you say to her in hindsight?
You're going to get old looking really fast. Your
Your
grays are going to come out a lot faster too. So what would I say to the Sandra from 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Hop on. You're going to have an amazing ride. Like, this is going to be the best thing. This is the best decision. It's going to be stressful. There's going to be times that you're going to think, why did I do this? But just hang on, because it's going to be worth it.
So that tells me that you feel really good about the way that you rolled out, the way that you executed, the growth journey that you've been on.
Yep.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's reframe that. So if you were to speak to, another person who was considering, leaving the employment journey and becoming self-employed, what are some sage comments that you might share with somebody who's thinking about that, or is at the point where they have an idea but they're scared to execute on it? What are your words of wisdom?
Well, I would say do your research for sure. Look at your market. Make sure it's not saturated already. Make sure you have that support system as well. Obviously, the funds are important. The money is there because not only do you need it to start up, you need it to operate, and you need a cushion if things like your roof, start to leak or that kind of thing. And know that it's not easy. There's going to be long days, long hours. There's going to be stress, but the reward definitely outweighs everything. Yeah. So
when do you feel most rewarded?
When I'm at the gym, when I'm at Kinetic, I it's just the most amazing feeling. The energy that the members bring in. So I would say at the end of a class is where I feel the best. You walk out, you see the people that just took your class, you see the other ones coming out from other classes, you see the ones that are coming in. There's this flurry of activity, of energy, good vibes, lots of positivity, lots of encouragement, like you said, lots of inclusion, and you step back and you look at that and you say, I did this.
Yeah.
And it's like, it gave me goosebumps. That's right. So it's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So I'll ask you this question: how can I or this community continue to support Kinetic? What do you need, or what are you in need of these days, today, that someone or me or this community could support you with?
I love when people bring people in, so referrals, and to just be open and give it a try. The first thing when people see Kinetic Indoor Cycle and Fitness, they're like, I hate spin class, right?
Yeah.
So give us a try, right? And we're not only spin classes, we do offer other classes as well. So one of the things I thought would be a good way of giving back again to the community is by offering our first class for free with a food donation. So there's no cost involved for you to try us and see if you like us. So come in, try us, see if you like it. Bring a friend if you like it already, and that you've been a member before. So referrals, first chances. And loyalty, I guess.
I think just walking through the doors can make it so much less stressful. I think we all have like anxiety around like a first action towards some goal or some end. And one of the things that I really appreciate about your business is that it is really just such a welcoming place. You walk in, you immediately feel included, and just a really good vibe there. And by the way, I'm just going to say the cool thing that I can see after your class is like, this is like the entrepreneur mindset. I'm like, this lady is boss. Like I knew that you were gonna say that, because that's the way I would feel when I see people that are just like on top of the mountain of like, you're riding the endorphin train.
Oh, absolutely.
You've got a bunch of other people like super happy.
Yeah.
And you're like in the space that you built, and these people are all here because of you. Like, I don't think it could get much better than that. That's pretty amazing.
Well, the first time we filled our spin room to capacity, I actually had tears in my eyes.
Oh,
like, it was so emotional, because I thought I didn't ever think that people would come or that I would be able to fill a class.
Were you worried, or you're like, right?
So, but with going back to being new and coming to Kinetic, I do get a lot of emails about, I want to try your place, but I'm intimidated. They use that word, intimidated. I don't know what to expect. And so I spend a lot of time answering emails and telling people.
And that's you on the end of these emails.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm the one that answers the emails. Yeah.
Cool.
And, I say, come on in. We'll make sure that we spend some time to get you comfortable with Kinetic, and especially if it's a spin class that you're taking, to spend that time to set you up properly, explain the bike, explain the computer system that we have, explain everything.
Know that you don't have to get in the front row. You can get in the corner, nobody's going to see you.
Yeah, and just give it a try.
Yeah.
So
that's really cool. Well, Sandra, thanks so much for coming today. This has been so good to chat with you. We chat lots in the morning, but not for long.
Yeah, 5:15 is a really early start to the day.
As you know, I love small business owners, and I just really appreciate the fact that you shared your story with us today.
Thank you so much for asking me to come. I was very honored, actually. So
I was very honored that you said yes. So
thanks
a lot, Sandra.
Thanks, Courtney.
Yeah. So that's another chapter of the Dooryard Union, talking to awesome entrepreneurs, hearing about journeys. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next week.